What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavallari here, one half of 7 Arrow Media, and welcome to today's edition of the Honky Tonk Highway, episode 35. Today's show is going to be a really good special one. I got a couple people on that you might know, and hold on one moment. I want to switch something up here because I think I have the wrong camera selected. For myself, I do. There we go. That's better. Welcome, guys. Episode 35 of the Honky Tonk Highway. If you haven't yet, please like, follow, and share us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that nice stuff. Today's show is going to be one for the ages. We're going to talk to a couple people that are known for competing in the USLDCC, as well as trying to break into the industry as instructors. Just a quick disclaimer. These are our opinions, not anybody else's, not the opinion of the USLDCC or any of its board members. It is our opinion. So just let's clear that up, just like I do with all of my other topic shows. But without further ado, one of them is a professional figure skater for Disney. One of them is a stay-at-home mom with 2 amazing kids. And the other one, he's kind of known for making DJs throw crutches at him. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Takahashi, Kerry Mouse, and Chris Tiny Hands Jocks. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Chris, sorry, had to do it. Couldn't help it. It was too easy. And Jason, everyone's so proud, and so am I. Thank you for being on time to today's show. It's awesome.
I know. The first time in weeks, I think, that I've been on time for any of these things.
It's only 2 o'clock there. I'm like, really? How are you missing and being late to all these things?
Because I have the opposite sleep schedule. I sleep at like 4 in the morning. I kind of crawl out of bed around 10. Usually not awake enough to like take the class then.
And then, of course, Kerry, you dealing with everything going on up in Minnesota. So glad to see you're safe and we're able to come on the show today.
Yeah, thanks. We're pretty far away from the chaos, but it's still pretty unnerving.
Yeah, awesome. And I have to say, 2 out of the 3 of them are wearing amazing shirts today for the show. Have to say that. It's just, what can I say? So for those out there who don't know, the USLDC stands for the United States Line Dance Choreography Competition. It was started back in 2014 by Jason Cameron and Jen Cameron, Will Craig, Scott Blevins, and Jean Gar. The competitions that it started out with were Fun in the Sun, Boston Line Dance Showdown, the Big Bang Line Dance Marathon, and at the time it was the Tampa Bay Line Dance Classic, as well as added in the Hotlander Line Dance Challenge when it was, and most recently they've added in the Las Vegas Dance Explosion. So the first competition was held at the Tampa Bay Classic in 2014. The first finals were held 1 year later, 2015. It was won by Trevor Thornton. We are now in year 5. The winners so far have been Trevor Thornton, Darcy DeAngelis, Bradley Mather, and then the most recent winner is our own Jason Takahashi, who's with us today, which I got the privilege of being in England last year at Masters when he got to do his teach, so that was awesome. I've been over there for 2 of the 4, Darcy and Jason, which was awesome. Kerry used to compete in the competition. You competed years 2 and 3, right?
Yeah, I think I did one back in 2014 at the Showdown.
Yes, I think you did, yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, sporadically in and out, kind of 2014, 2016, and then 2017 was my really good year. So
yes.
Yeah.
And Chris Jocks, you are currently competing this season. You've had a couple nice ones. You might know him for his dance Shoot My Shot that won Windy City. And we've actually, me and him, choreographed one that won the Florida Classic. I had to think there for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, which event was that at? So
it's like a different life ago.
Right. It does feel like it was a very long time ago, and it really wasn't, now that I think of it. And coincidentally, me being the host, I've actually competed in 4 out of the 5 years. I took 1 year off, the year Jason won. I did not compete that entire year. I competed in the other 4. So I'm still active. I'm looking forward to. Usually the finals are held. They just switched it where it's going to be held at the marathon every year. But obviously, due to the little issue we have right now with the COVID-19 and everything, marathon's been canceled. Just a little minor one, right? So the finals this year are going to be held at the Florida Classic, the former, not Tampa. and the winner from that will go to the World Dance Masters 2021 to be an instructor on that amazing lineup they just released this past weekend, which that's going to be insane, absolutely insane. So what has it been like? What was it like competing, guys? Well, we'll
Kerry,
start with
you
the
go
lady
first
in the
since
room.
you competed the earliest, so.
I did.
I did.
I competed at the. I actually competed at the very first one. I entered one dance co-choreographed with Trevor at the very first one. Back when Chris Watson and Roth Fowler were there and judged. That was a long time ago. Long time ago in Tampa. Arlene was still around, so it's been fun. It definitely. I miss the amount. I think what I miss the most is the amount of competitors. Nice little John of the Cups there, guys. That was cute. That was really cute.
Oh,
As Kerry joins in. I think what I miss most is the amount of competitors, and Kerry can contest to this from back the first time you competed. There were loads. I think the first Boston Line Dance Showdown, there was 70 plus entries among the 3 divisions. Jason's like, it ran over 2 hours. It literally ran over 2 hours. It was insane. And I think I placed third that year at Boston in the mini advanced competition out of like 22 or 23, and I don't get a qualifier. That was the rough part there. Like, I think that's what I miss the most is the amount of dancers. Because if you look at some of the choreographers that's come out of the competition, you have Trevor Thornton, Gail Dawson, Lynn Card, Dustin Betts, Darcy, Kayla Cosgrove, David Ackerman. We lost Chris.
he'll come back.
Still
Here he
here.
is.
The voice is there. There you are. It's that Boston internet, I'm telling you. But like I was saying, Dustin Betts, obviously my 3 guests so far. Bradley Mather won year 3. He came out of the competition. We've had so many amazing choreographers come out of it. And that's what I miss, all the amount of competitors. I wish there was more. To be honest. So, Kerry, what's it been like for you so far?
Yeah, how did you start it? Like, get into it in 2014 for your first comp?
Well, my first win was at the Fort Wayne Dance Trial in 2013, I think.
Okay.
And I was just coming back into line dance after taking a little break from it. And someone said, "Oh, you should compete, enter the choreography competition." So I was like, okay. So I had this dance I came up with, and I actually co-choreographed it with a friend of mine from here. And she's like, "I don't want to compete at all." So I was like, okay, well, I'll enter it. So I entered it. It won first place. I was like, what is going on? So then I thought, well, sure, I'll create some more dances and enter them into competitions around that I go to the events for. So I did that and then placed pretty well. And I just got hooked after that.
Nice. What about you,
It's
Jay?
nerve-wracking.
Oh,
Mine was
extremely.
Yeah, mine was by accident. I started. Well, I've been line dancing for a long time, since 2007 at the bars. I met John Lieberman, a former USLDCC competitor. 2016, I got introduced to our Luann's class. Where I still, if we were dancing, would still currently take. And he kind of mentioned like some events and whatnot, and I had no idea what he was talking about because I had only been at the bar for 9 years at that point. And then I was only there for maybe 2 months before I left for tour for 10 months. I was gone from like beginning of July until April the next year, May of next year. And when I came back, he was talking about competing at the marathon. I think, Kerry, where you won with Happy Dance that year. So Night of the Living Dead year. And he was like, "Oh, this event, and I'm competing choreography and yada, yada." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I have no idea what you're talking about." So he was competing that season, and we kind of haphazardly, he showed me a song. He was going to try to write his first nightclub for Hotlanta. And we were all going to go we all went to the first Hotlanta.
Yep.
And he wouldn't finish the dance. And it was like bothering him, like, "You finish the dance, just finish the dance." And so I was like, this music is too good. And then I was like, you have to get this done. Like, you have to finish this dance. And it ended up being like in a parking lot. I was like, screw it. I'll do it. Like, I'll fix this for you. So it was kind of like haphazard, like random choreography in a parking lot of a Sonic drive-in at like 3 a.m. before the step sheets were due. And he was like, well, you wrote like half of it, so I'm going to put your name on it and we're all going to go. So we're all planning on going to Hotlanta anyway. So I kind of haphazardly ended up in the competition that 2017, 2018 year. And that was Best Mistakes.
Yep.
That won in Hotlanta. And then kind of went on to get second behind Kachi, right, at Windy City. So I was like, technically I placed at Windy City, technically, but I wasn't there. You have 2 Windy City winners here, and technical second place choreographer. And then kind of on a dare the year after when going to marathon, Jacqueline Rogers was like, you had a piece of music that I gave to Jono for his competition year he never used. And I was like, I think I could write a dance to this. Like, it's a nightclub. It was going to be a nightclub. And it's the one I ended up teaching at Worlds as well, but where I stood.
Yep.
And kind of like, and it won at marathon after an hour of sleep, 9 a.m. Sunday morning competition. We'll never forgive Scott for that. And then, so it's kind of by accident. And then, when you place the first time, you have to compete again, and you're kind of locked in for that year, and you have no reason not to. So it was kind of just by accident, good parking lot choreography mistake, and a Sonic drive-in is kind of how I ended up in the USLDCC.
Nice. What about you, Chris?
Mine's a pretty funny story. So my first competition was 2017 Line Dance Showdown up here in Boston, and I had no idea what I was getting into. The longer version is I was about to stop dancing about 5 years ago. I was coming from the ballroom world, and I kind of had a sour taste about it all at the time. And then I met Michelle Jackson, now Michelle Jackson White, and a week later doing the bar dancing scene, and then not even a year after that, she was like, "Oh, you should bring it to Showdown. You should." So I actually took for my first USLDCC, and I didn't even know any of the judges, which was fantastic because there was no pressure. Like, I'm standing right in front of. I was like, "Oh, everyone seems to love this Rachel person. I should definitely go over and say hi at some point and take her classes." And then everyone's like, "Weren't you nervous?" I was like, "No, why?" And they're like, So I blissful ignorance the whole way through. And then I think the one entry I had that year was 6 out of like 13 or so. Felt, okay about it. I was like, not bad for a first shot. I'll, take my time on the next one, wait it out. And then 2018 Showdown, when Bradley won, that was also in Boston. So I was obviously not in finals, just planning to watch. And I'm realizing, I'm like, okay, I wrote one that came in 6th, but everyone that it finished behind, they're all here in finals. They're all placed. They're all shooting for the win. I'm like, okay, maybe I did a little bit better than I thought. I'll throw my hat in the ring again next time around, see what happens. And just took off from there.
Awesome. So 2 of the 3 of you have obviously competed in other choreography competitions. Windy City, both of 2, Kerry and Chris, you both won. Chris most recently this past year, and I know Kerry, you've done in Fort Wayne. What do you like about the differences between other competitions in the USLDCC?
The rules are different for each competition. So for Fort Wayne, I know one of the differences is that you can enter a dance that you've also choreographed in. For USLDCC, you can enter dances in that competition. And I know they don't have to be new dances either, or they're not on the same time limit. So that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, I know they don't. Jamie doesn't have a cutoff for the years. I know the USLDCC has to be 1 year from the day you compete it. So if you compete it
Right.
at say the marathon, it can't have been written past like the marathon the year before.
Right. Yeah.
So what about you, Chris?
I like the idea of different styles of competing, especially where, we're so lucky to come from a community of awesome instructors where they're not afraid to share their opinions with you and give you guidance and whatnot. So different formats, it's almost like a additional opportunity to get feedback and to learn more, maybe at a faster rate than you would if you're just doing the same competition style. I know I learned a lot about some just instruction habits and whatnot from doing Windy City in addition to USLDCC, just because I was in a mindset of, okay, different approach.
Right.
When I'm able to go and actually get to talk to some of the judges, after the fact, ask them what they thought about everything. They're always amazing in talking about what they think. I had a different mindset. I think I asked better questions, and I think I got better feedback as a result.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I like that Windy City allows, and Vegas, right? That they allow you to teach the dance.
Oh yeah,
It's
Vegas is competition for Vegas is they allow to teach. Yes.
Yeah, I think I like that aspect of it. I think that's a really good point, because if you win USLDCC, that's what you're competing for, as a teaching spot. So being able to teach,
I definitely do like that aspect that Windy City does.
And I can kind of piggyback on that. Was like the first time ever teaching at event was World Dance Masters. I had not taught. I don't have my own class. So it is different. I think you have to approach those competitions differently, because World Dance Masters choreography competition that they have is similar to USLDCC. You just dance it, and that's the only way you get through 22 something dances in a category. You can't force the judges to learn 20 something dances. Like you won't be able to deal with it. And that makes it, I know it's harder for them, for Windy City and for Las Vegas, is having to learn all the dances as well. But
yeah, because I know
it is an interesting approach. You have to approach them differently. I wouldn't have brought a 96 count phrase dance to Windy City to teach in a half hour.
Right.
That's just it's not conducive for that type of style of competition. No. That doesn't mean it's not good choreography. Or you're not a good instructor. It just is a lot more difficult to do than a 32 count 4-wall or 64 count 2-wall type dance.
Right.
And I think that as for people looking to compete, you have to have that awareness and that understanding the type of competition you're entering, and use that to your advantage and be advantageous in that way, because it's going to be hard for the judges to score a competition, a dance that they're trying to learn, if it's not taught well or if it's hard to teach. And you're putting yourself at a disadvantage in that way. Whereas, if you have to just dance it, you can maybe do some things that are a little bit more difficult because you don't have to explain yourself.
Right. And then the one thing I would add, because I love the fact that, so Windy City and Vegas both do that, but they both limit it. Like, I know Windy City, you're only given one entry, period. You're allowed to have one entry. Vegas, you're allowed to have one per division if you want to enter. But I think this is, I'm going in and watching both competitions, because being there as a videographer, and I didn't compete in Windy Cities or Vegas's, the competitors who have to go teach get so lost in trying to teach everybody in the room. I think they need to realize that the only people they are there to teach are actually the judges.
Because the spectators can dance, right?
Do what?
Because the spectators can also join in for the teaches, right?
Yeah. Yes, the spectators can go in, and they're encouraged to go in and take the class. But I think they need to the people teaching it need to realize, they go in, they have 50 people in there, and I have to teach the 50 people. No, you have to teach to 5. Teach to the 5 at front. They can learn a lot quicker probably than those 50 behind it. Teach to the 5. So that's what I would do, and I think there he is. I'm like, he lost Chris again.
Phone's not happy today.
So, and I think that's the big mistake I've watched a lot of competitors at Windy City and Vegas make, is they try to teach the whole room, and that's why they don't get finished. I've watched many competitors not finish their teach. and I feel for them. Like, come on, just concentrate on that front row of instructors.
Right.
So
it's a hard industry though, because you do have to balance it, because just, I mean, on the complete like surface, they're choreography competitions, so it's about the choreography itself technically.
correct.
But this business itself is so instructor driven, and you may be able to come up with great things, but if teaching isn't your strong point, or people don't want to teach your stuff, then you're going to have trouble getting hired. And it's just an interesting trying to keep that balance. And I like that there's both competitions, like there's competitions of both styles, because again, my first event was Worlds, and
Right.
I know from like anecdotal things with Linda McCormick, when she won at Worlds haphazardly in 2013 or something like that, her first teach was at Boston.
Right.
Her first ever teach was in Boston with her accent and whatnot. And she's like, I was just petrified, and I was like, and that's true, because it has nothing to do with how she won.
Right. Exactly.
So it's interesting in this world, because you do have. People are paying for you to come to instruct, not necessarily just for your creative ideas.
Right. And that's why I kind of like some of the times when the people get to teach them. Like some of and it bothers me a couple of times that and I don't want to say this badly, but the competitors that you see that have no desire to ever go teach. I'm like, why are you entering a competition where the prize is a teaching spot?
Yeah.
And I understand to get your dances noticed, but it's like, really?
Yeah.
So, I have a question from Big Jim. Shocking, I know. He knows that Tiny Hands is competitive in nature. He wants to know mainly is Guns and Jason, as he's now nicknamed you from your push-up challenges, Kerry. If y'all were competitive in nature when it comes to competing.
I'd say
Jason's look says it all. Well,
go for it,
I'm
Kerry.
competitive in nature, I would say. I don't come off as that way, I think, but I know it's surprising, right? But I think I am pretty competitive in nature. I mean, I ran track and cross country in high school, and I was pretty competitive. So, I guess this is kind of along those same lines. Jim, I didn't roll my eyes. He's trying to get me to roll my eyes in his questions, so he just misses me. That's all.
What about you, Jace?
I mean, so I grew up as a competitive figure skater since I was 5 years old. I competed for at least maybe about a dozen years. I took some time off in high school. I ran cross country and track like you, Kerry. It is fun to participate, and I don't want to deter people from like trying it out and from being, just letting the creative juices roll and join in for fun and stuff. But I mean, it's a competition, and I definitely had a certain mindset to choreograph for something that I thought would be competitive, and that is different. And now post competition, that is different than what you think will be popular or what is doable. And those are, and that's kind of, again, your choreograph. I went in with this mindset of, I need to do something I'm going to be good at, that I'm going to be able, that the judges are going to notice. And, that's not necessarily something that the world wants to dance. And, but I definitely went in with a mindset of trying to win. That was the goal, 100%.
I mean, you always want your dances to do well, or whether they win or not, you want people to see them and like them and want to dance them or teach them.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Or at least just inspire people, like in some way, shape, or form. They may not feel physically capable of doing, that kind of dance, and that's perfectly fine too. We have such a wide spectrum of dancers, that do attend these events and stuff, and my 96 count phrase, Latin-based dance, may not be their cup of tea, and that's okay.
But Jason, you just made a great point. You choreographed for competition purposes and thing, and I tell that to people all the time. You've looked back, how many of the winning dances actually were the dances that are probably the most done out there?
Yeah. It's hard. Not a lot. I mean,
like
out like that, I think might be the only final winner that.
Thank you, and that's what I was going to say. Out like that, Bradley just retaught Put the Gun Down.
Yeah. I haven't taught my dance because I haven't taught Omegusta because I'm too afraid to teach it.
but it's the same way. But not even in the finals. But let's look at all the individual competitions throughout. A lot of the dances that took second, third, or fourth, I believe so. If I'm correct on looking back, have done a lot better. There's only a few dances that took first place at a qualifier that actually went on to like pieces. The dance that pops out to me was that actually Sugar.
I would say the biggest.
Sugar Rush by Trevor when it won at Boston year 1. But the dances like that, those are the only real two that I can name that took first. That actually.
There's just a handful because I mean, where did you compete Kachi at Classic? Because you competed after Chicago,
it was
right?
Florida Line. Yeah, it was Florida Line.
Yes,
Classic.
it was a Classic that took Kachi. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But that's really.
And Bradley had My Heart Is in Havana there. Those were the two big ones from that year, like the two of the bigger ones from that year.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of dances, to be fair. And, you know, I find myself guilty of it as well, trying to, even something when, like, Streamline has 50 teaches in a week, trying to figure out how little sleep I can have and which ones I can take and try to prioritize. And, you know, it's hard to, I wouldn't expect anyone to prioritize just to, like, oh, this random person is now competing and won first place. Like, this dance has to be great. And I need to teach it. And when there's so many other ones coming out. So, I mean, you just never know really what's going to make it out of the woodwork, honestly. I didn't expect, you know, John and I never expected Best Mistakes to be done at MIT and things like that, or for John Robinson to tour it and whatnot. You know, I was lucky enough to have Cody teach Where I Stood at Fitz. People, you know, Chris, people are teaching Shoot My Shot all around the world. People have taught, you know, Kachi everywhere as well. Yeah. So you never really know, like.
But shockingly enough, and this is why I was bringing it up, Shoot My Shot didn't place in the US
it was at Atlanta,
right? So, like, trust me, because I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to at Atlanta, and it didn't. But then it turned around and he won with it at Chicago. So I was like,
different judges.
Yeah.
There's a good story with that.
Yeah.
Different entries.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun.
About how that happened, where, like, I was talking to Rob Holly at Windy City, and everything had just wrapped up, and Rob's awesome. I still can't believe that it turned out the way that it did, but Rob and I were talking, and he turns to me and goes, "You cannot think USLDCC," and I'm like, "Oh, Rob, I already competed it," and he's like, "Oh, that's." I turned to Rob and I go, "Rob, it didn't place." He goes, "What?" He's like, "How good was the competition that day?" I was like, "It was awesome." That I even remember a couple weeks before, Kelly, you had written yours to was it Ex Ambassador song? And I'm watching
Baptize Me.
Yeah, and that was a great one. And I'm watching it at home. And it's the interesting part of all this. You know, like you said, it's not as many competitors as it used to be. A lot of us are so close, and we keep such close contact on each other. I see you post that. It's a couple weeks before Hotlanta, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome as a friend. And then as a competitor, I'm like, damn it, I'm going to lose.
Yeah, I wrote that to release it to compete it at World Dance Masters, and I think I got 7th at WDM with Jason. And that competition took
huge.
That competition was massive. I lost to that was when Legends Tonight won. But yeah, that competition was absolutely massive. So
as a judge, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you look at 22 dances and be like, yeah, I think these are the top 2 or something. I don't know how you do it.
So Maddie B just asked, and this is a great one, Maddie B. Who is a choreographer that you've competed against that you would like to co-choreograph with?
I've already I've co-choreographed with some of them already.
Some of us have already.
Kerry and I have come out have choreographed together. I've choreographed with Shay. Me and Jono I started out choreographing with Jono.
Right.
I guess you're next, Chris. I guess it's you.
Well, me and him choreographed together.
I was gonna say, is it too easy easy an answer if I just say Jason.
Right? I'm like, I guess you're next. Like,
yeah, that's the one good thing. And now here's my other question, and I'm gonna ask this one's to Kerry and Jason, because Jason, you did it when Jono's year, but you only did it once. You did it once your year. Choosing to do choreographed entries compared to solo entries in competition.
mine are all accidents, so I can't really say none of it was premeditated at all. Mine was Shay sent me a song and she's like, I think I really like this song, and I was like, I want to choreograph to this song. It was the Jessie J one that we did for the like a super horribly counted nightclub-esque type of dance for Hotlanta 2018. Yeah, Hotlanta 2018. But I was like, I'm just gonna jump on this with you. Like, I don't care. Like, I kind of just like inserted myself into said song, and so that's kind of how that ended up being co-choreographed in that sense. There was no like, oh, we should do something together. That was because it is hard, because then you have to come up with something again to, if it places, to compete again to get to qualify that entry, because you have to have the two qualifying competitions like underneath the same names.
Right.
And I know that there was the other issue, not issue, it's just issue's not the right term, but with like, you know, with like Olivia and, you know, just with who she's choreographing with and things like that, and just trying to make sure that the right names are, you know, like, oh, did I do two competitions with this person, with my, you know, with my mom and grandma, or just mom, or, you know, aunt, or, you know, it's a lot to keep track of sometimes.
So those watching who doesn't know what he's talking about, the rule is if you place first or second, you get a spot in the finals. But in order to qualify for the finals, you must compete at least two different competitions. It doesn't matter how many, what division. So say you compete a beginner, the newcomer novice division at Florida Classic. You do intermediate advanced at Big Bang. If you're newcomer novice placed, you don't even have to place with the one at Big Bang. You just have to step on the floor with the competition. And that goes for co-choreographed as well. So if you say of Jason, like me and Chris competed this year, and we had to enter a second event, and in order to qualify for the finals. And luckily, we were going to compete at Boston together. But with the COVID issue, when Boston canceling, there was three of us that still needed qualifiers at Boston. And since we were entered and paid our entry fee, our entries counted. It was also Adea and Russ, and then Russ by himself, because Russ needed to go to another event. So you need to do two events. So, and you can enter two dances per division per competition. So in a way, if you have a choreography at it, you could technically everyone's you. So if I went to a competition, the most entries I'm allowed to enter is 6. But if Chris is choreographing with me as well, technically I can have 12 entries, 6 of mine.
I would never want to write that many dances. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way.
But
I don't have that kind of creative juices in me. That's not it.
Well, no, because you have a year. You have 1 year. You can go back a year. So if you didn't compete and were choreographing, like the year you were competing with Jono, and you technically had a year's worth of dances, you could show up at that first event with like 6 entries of yourself, and if anybody else choreographed with you. So that first event, like I remember 1 year at Fitz, I showed up, I think I had 6 or 7 entries. Because I didn't compete before, and then I had some saved up that I had written 8-9 months ago that I never finished. A lot of the times I get to it, and this is the thing, I didn't finish dances. I would start them saying, okay, I'm only going to take 3, but I have 3 more half done. And I'm just randomly would finish them and have a stockpile. So Jennifer Cameron just joined us in the chat.
Hi, Jen.
She says, hi, everyone. Jen, obviously one of the board members and one of the event directors for 3 of the qualifiers. Now, used to be 4. So, and I know, Chris, you're this year. So what did everyone think of adding the more events this year, adding Vegas, having another qualifier?
I think it's great.
I love it. Personally. I loved it being on the West Coast. I did.
Because
I think it's good.
I remember that was like a concern or just something that, I mean, Jono mentioned to me like the first year was just, it was very East Coast based. Like all the competitions are on the East Coast. And so it's quite a trek to get anyone from the West Coast. So we have to fly, we have to, take time off or whatever. Not that people don't anyway, but it just is, the barrier of entry is higher, to fly all the way to North Carolina or Florida, whereas like we can drive 4 hours to Vegas. For at least for where I live. So I think it's great to get a little bit wider reach. I think because I think there is a lot of talent in the States, and just to be able to pull from the West Coast a little bit more easily. I think it's awesome.
What shocks me is even in our industry, Jay, overall, event wise, it's very East Coast based.
Yes.
If you look at every major dance event, with the exception of, that's huge, mind you. I'm talking about the event. I'm not talking about the smaller events, guys. No offense to the smaller events. I love going to events smaller, but I'm talking about the big 400, 500, 600 plus attendee events. Besides Vegas and Windy City, they're all pretty much on the East Coast. They're pretty much the only two exceptions, and they both are. And I understand why it took a while. They both already had choreography competitions. Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne's the other one, and Fort Wayne runs their own choreography competition. So all the big events on the Midwest to the West Coast already have choreography competitions. So I can understand it. I can understand what it was like. I remember it was almost like the first, and Kerry can contest to me, and so can Chris because you were at Boston. The first 2 or 3 years, we knew everybody because we all go to all events because we're all from the same area. It was literally all the East Coast and borderline Midwest events were like all the same group of people, and we did. It was like literally the same competitors, and it was awesome. And then out of nowhere, we had Jono and Chris and Megan and you and everyone from West Coast. All of a sudden, boom! I'm like, where did all these California kids come from, and why do they get so younger?
And I can attest to that because before Vegas last year, that was my first Vegas. I had only been to East Coast events, and I didn't know anybody at Vegas.
Right.
I lived. I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. And now there's Portland. Now Portland's an event. And I know Experience has been on the West Coast before, in San Francisco and Portland as well. But I mean, as of right now, it's Northwest and Vegas. But like, I went to Vegas and I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Right.
But then like 3 Atlantas, 2 marathons, like it's just a different crowd. So it's nice to be able to pull from it. It's nice to be able to, get more participation from our side of the country.
Yeah, and then having Vegas is awesome because for us out here on the East Coast, even though, we get to see a lot of the same faces over and over again, which is great, being able to go to another event like Vegas is awesome, especially if you're going to compete. Otherwise, only so many of us can go to so many events over the course of the year, vacation, to travel costs. Maybe now it's easier for me to lobby for, like, I do really want to go to Vegas. I haven't been yet. It's on the bucket list. It's having there makes it a little bit easier while I'm still competing. I'm all in on that.
Yeah, me too, Chris. I've never been to Vegas, and it's definitely on my bucket list. So I definitely want to make it out there. I know I haven't been there.
Thanksgiving's coming up, guys. Feel free to join me and Jason in Vegas this year. I apologize to your husband, Kerry, and Caitlin now, Chris. It was funny though, because last year was the first time Vegas had the USLDCC. They ran both their competition, and the USLDCC, and Jason can contest this. I really think half the competitor entries were from the 2 people from Florida, me and Wendy.
Right.
Half the entries in the USLDCC were still from people from the East Coast.
They did what we used to do, make the trek across the country to compete.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Antoinette asks, at different events, do you find one section more popular than the other, like advanced country versus improver non-country?
So what's interesting is I think the only ones that separate by country are World Dance Masters and UCWDC. We haven't even talked about UCWDC as a competition, but they separate. In USLDCC, we only do levels, which lends itself. And I will say that I do find more newcomer novice and intermediate advanced dances versus phrased. I feel like phrased always has less entries, at least in the competitions that I've been there for, either competed in or spectated for. But that's an interesting point, because it didn't even occur to me, because I've never competed in a non-country or country category. Does Fort Wayne, is it only by levels in Fort Wayne?
Yeah.
Yes. Fort Wayne's by level, but there's 4 of them. They do beginners, and then improvers, intermediate, advanced, and then phrase. And I think we lost Mr. Jocks again.
Yeah, I do remember that at Worlds, when I competed at Worlds, that I had to rewrite some step sheets to get them to classify in the proper category. So that was another interesting thing with the UCWDC regulations versus USLDCC.
And it's weird because, I don't know how far you go back, Kerry. You might know this. It's weird because the UCWDC just recently, in the last couple of years, changed it where you do not have to qualify for choreography.
Yeah, I don't remember having to qualify.
Yeah, so the way the UCWDC used to work, and I'm trying to get Chris back here. I don't know where he went. So the way because shockingly enough, Guyton Mundy used to compete. Used to compete in the UCWDC choreography competition, and so the way it worked was you had to go to a competition, and you could enter a dance. If that dance, even if the dance didn't place, it didn't have to take first, second, third, or fourth. But come the World Championships, only dances that had been entered at a UCWDC event throughout the year were allowed to be competed at the World Championships.
Okay.
Mind you, the very first time that we went to the World Championships for choreography, it literally took 14 hours to do the choreography competition.
Right.
There are hundreds in every division. Wow. Absolutely hundreds. So that was absolutely insane. And there was 5 divisions there. So imagine running literally a 14-hour choreography competition. Jason's like, nope. I am all good.
Busy. I can social dance for 14 hours, but I can't watch the choreography competition for 14 hours.
Right. And that's the thing. That makes it hard. Jackie Talley just asked, and this is a good one as we work on getting Chris back. I think he had a little internet issue. Do you all write your own step sheets? Are there step sheets writers out there that you can hire or consult with?
I write my own.
There he is.
I write all my own too.
He's back.
You write your own as well, Kerry? Yeah.
Yeah, I write my own as well.
I try not to come up with anything that I'm going to have to describe, be the first person to describe. That's just not the goal that I had. Like, I try to think, like, what dance do I know that is similar, or can I pull up a step sheet for that does something similar? Wasn't reinventing the wheel for this, that's for sure. But I think that's a good point too. Like, I would want to make to anyone that's like looking to do choreography or looking to compete, is just kind of continue to always expand your knowledge, your dance knowledge, and the types of styles and the types of things that, we have so many amazing choreographers and instructors in the world that are constantly pushing the envelope and, putting new things out that, you can't get stuck in your own mind and just what your mind has available for choreography, like to consistently learn. And I think that was what my goal was, at least during my competition year, was to consistently learn more and more dances, even if I wasn't going to be able to retain them or whatever, just to really see what you like and what you don't like, not even just to pull good things, just to be like, I don't like the way that feels. And just to have that type of awareness of flow and, sequencing and just to learn either, what you can use as during Joe Thompson's interview, kind of what you can use to fill the space, just better ways to do that, and better ways to categorize because it's a competition. So in my mind, I don't know 100% how all the judges, look at these dances, but you want to be critical. And if you're going to miss something, or you're going to pull a style that doesn't count, or you're going to write a waltz when it's a rolling 8, or you're going to, it's to have that type of awareness, and that only comes from more knowledge and, putting in that time. And so that's one thing I definitely would encourage people to do that are looking to do choreography is, not just come up with something with what they already know, is to always expand that knowledge.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris, nice to have you back.
I still don't see him.
No.
And partially this, I do write my own step sheets, but Kelly types them. Kelly's a faster typer than me, so I'll sit there and have it written out by hand, and I'll dictate what I want it to say, but she can type way faster, because for competition, most of the time, I'm literally typing them the last day, because I always forget to write them, except for like when me and Chris, the one we just did, we actually wrote it like the day after we choreographed it, and because we didn't want to have to write it later on down the line. Jacqueline Rogers just asked, this is a good question. What dance would you want to rewrite or work on again after getting judges' feedback? That's
Go,
I know.
go
Good
Kerry.
one.
You don't have an you don't have an answer. I have an answer.
Okay,
I have an answer. I would, and I still haven't because I just have been lazy. Is I would want to go back and redo the nightclub that I won the intermediate advanced category with at the final. The Adele one, Love in the Dark. I had to make it a certain way so it was non-phrased.
We know all about that.
Yeah, like again, just you have to adhere to the rules in the competition that you are entering for. So I still was like, I'm not 100% happy with how this is. I really like it, but knowing that I had to finagle it to keep it in a specific category, I definitely wasn't like 100% pleased with it. So I don't even know if that was like really from judges' feedback or that's just my own, self-critical being that I am. But for sure, that's the one. And I never even released it. Like I never released it after, got third in the final. It won the intermediate advanced category, but I never went forward with it because I wasn't happy with it.
Nice. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I felt the same way about one. Entered it last, I think, at Florida Line Classic. It was called Treat Yourself. It did well. There was something about that dance, though. Even as I was writing the step sheet, I was like, I can't figure out what I wish was better. I just know I'm really going to appreciate getting some feedback on it. And it was going to rework it for Showdown. And still I'm going to rework it at some point. But it's one that now I feel like I owe it to just make that one a little bit better. I know I can do better on that one, but still trying to figure out what it's missing.
And that's a great thing as a competitor. It only helps you in competition is to be able to have that awareness and be able to know, like, that's not, like, that just means that we've all, like, grown as competitors and as choreographers of, like, that isn't 100% correct. Like, we need, like, that can be better.
Right.
And that's, like, it's a good quality to have.
What about you, Kerry?
Well, I would say I wrote a dance, and I don't know that I ever released the step sheet to it. So it was called Burn the House Down, and I competed it a couple years ago in Fort Wayne. Yeah. And I think I'd like to go back and take a look at that one. It's phrased, of course, because I love phrase dances. But yeah, I just would like to go back and take a look at that one again. And then actually release it.
Nice.
Right.
Shay asked, now that you aren't competing, Kerry and Jason, and when you are done competing, Chris, who is someone you would like to write a dance with and why? Kerry, this could be hard for you because you've actually choreographed with quite a few people.
Yeah. Who's left
in
there?
the mix already.
Like,
good luck with coming up with one you haven't.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's great to have been able to choreograph with such amazing talent. I feel very fortunate, and it's been awesome.
So there's no one left, Kerry?
Oh, there's a long list left. But, I mean, let's see. I don't know. It depends on the song. Like if I find a good song and I think, oh, who does this sound like? And I really like the song too. Like who does this fit with? Because everybody seems to kind of have a style.
It's true.
So yeah. So it would depend on the song, I would say.
Great. How about you, Jason?
I would say probably either Fred or Scott would be like the first people on my list. I think Fred has the widest range of really any of the choreographers out there right now in terms of his in terms of difficulty level from beginner to pushing the envelope over on advanced, making it and in terms of like style, and then I think there's no one has more dances that I personally enjoy dancing than Scott, in terms of I feel like they're so well done, and in a way that you don't expect. Like there's so many that are so difficult to learn, and then once you get it, you're like, he's a freaking genius. And I don't know what that's like, and I kind of want to see how that process works. Um, you know, things like 50, we do dances from 13, 15 years ago that I couldn't imagine teaching in 2000. Like Break Free Child, I could not imagine anyone. It's hard for me now, let alone in 2006. Like, and how you come up with something like that, it would just be an interesting process. The third one would be Debbie Rushton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I adore most of her dances, and this quarantine has been the best for being able to learn so many of them of hers. So those are my probably top three.
What about you, Chris?
As cliche of the answer, everyone, everyone. But if you're gonna hold me to it, definitely Darren. There's been at least 5 or 6 times that I was looking for music, found something, and you go to do the copper knob check. Has anyone written to this yet? And I'm like, oh, Darren's got this one, and he's written to this and that one. He picks a lot of great music. I should keep better tabs on what he writes to. So yeah, definitely Darren. And then partially piggybacking on Jason, it'd be awesome to write with Scott, because there's something about when you get a hold of his dances. Like for me, my immediate reaction is I'd love to see on the choreography side, on like the work in progress side, how the ideas come together and how it all shapes up. Because you learn so much just working with other people about your own style and process and their style and process. Kelly, when we were first working on Keep It Down, we finished one of the first sessions for it, and I go to my girlfriend Caitlin, and I'm like, yeah, Kelly and I work very differently. Like we worked, it came together great, but just like process wise, I was like, we're going with it, and we have our different strategies and different styles, and that's the beauty of it, because then you find movements that you would have never thought of.
Yeah.
But because you're working with someone else, it makes more sense as you have maybe someone else segues from one step into the next differently than you would have. It's a rush working with other people.
Yeah, shockingly enough, the dance that we choreographed that we won with, we literally wrote in the hour-and-a-half break before he was announced winner of Shoot My Shot. During the dinner break, as Kelly was up showering, getting ready, I was in my suit. We're in my back of my booth, and Jamie Marshall turns. She goes, "What are you two crazy boys doing? We're writing dance." What?
Direct.
Literally is what, and we finished it in an hour and a half, and we actually finished it, and we were happy with it, and we didn't end up changing nothing after that. I'm going to actually answer the question that they just got to ask you guys. I was already privileged enough. I got to write with Shane McKeever for a dance he taught in Denmark that I will. Don't worry, Jesse. I already have agreed. I am going to teach it. Take the ride. We'll get taught. It doesn't even have a step sheet. We wrote it at the Florida Classic 2 years ago, and it still doesn't have a step sheet. Me and Shane, neither one of us want to write it.
Shane is the worst.
It's an advanced phrase dance from the song "The Other Side" from the reimagined soundtrack of The Greatest Showman, and we both are looking at each other. Goes, we do not want to write a step sheet to this. We're pulling a Guyton right now. We have Jesse taped a video of him teaching it in Denmark, and that's literally what we have. We pulled a Guyton. And
I've seen it. I've seen the video.
Right. And the other one would actually be. That means you need to write a step sheet too. Yes, I know, Shay. I know I need to write a step sheet to it. The other one would be the guy I've known for 20 years, my idol, Guyton Mundy. Shockingly enough, I've been there when he's written a lot of dances, and I've been there when a lot of people and him work together. Me and him have just never thing, and I would love to get to do that. So that would be mine. Then I saw another question come through. Where'd it go? There's so many on this one. Oh, nope, I didn't. I think I asked that one. Yes, I did ask one. Um, uh, what has been? Yeah, so we all know Shane won't write it. Yes, I know. That's the hard part. Um, what dance have you competed that you've been the most proud of?
I would say Happy Dance is,
Ooh,
yeah,
That's a good
probably
one.
one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah, I love that dance. I love the song. I love the dance. I love how it makes you feel. So, yeah, I like that one.
is that what you were dancing in the picture I used for you, or was that
No, I think
Kachi?
that was Kachi.
Was it Kachi? I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
I knew you because I knew it was from that event. I'm like, oop, there goes my light.
Uh-oh.
I knew it was one of them, and I couldn't remember which one. I'm like, I know she's dancing one of these two dances in this picture.
I think I had my hands on my hips, and so I was doing the Kachi thing.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Uh,
Which is also another one of my favorites, but I think Happy Dance just really, yeah, that one really makes me smile. So
Taylor, we all know Chris's answer. I wonder what that would be.
You know what? Actually, it might not be. I was wondering if that question was going to come up earlier, and it makes sense though. I probably would have to say one I wrote called "Let Your Hair Down."
Yes.
That
Is that the one from Fitz?
Yes, that is the one from Fitz,
Yeah.
the phrase one.
Yeah, because I mean, Kelly, you were there. We were talking in the hallway later that night after awards and everything like that, and we were doing the whole. Okay, I have this song. I love this song, and I want to write to that song and this one. And the track for "Shoot My Shot," I played it for you, and my exact words were, "I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this."
You did. I remember.
What's up?
I totally remember that because I turned to Big Jim that night, and speaking of Big Jim, he did sneak into the chat just now and under his YouTube. Everyone thought he wasn't going to recognize him. Shout out to my boy. I remember turning to Big Jim, and I'd seen you compete at Boston. I could see you compete all the thing, and when you did that "Let Your Hair Down" one, I turned to Big Jim. I go, "That is what I've been waiting for. Getting to see you dance like that." Without knowing the ballroom training I knew you had and knowing everything, you coming out with that, I turned to Big Jim. I'm like, that's what I've been waiting for. And I just remember that. And that's why when I played you the song after we won Keep It Down, we picked Fall Out Boy. of all bands, we picked Fall Out Boy to write another dance to together that we haven't released yet for the finals. And so, what's yours, Jason?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that really quick. Is that, Chris, I remember when you came out with that one at Fitz, and I was like, to see kind of like the growth from when we met at Hotlanta like the year before, in like 2018, and then to like, and see where you came out with the Fitz, I was like, oh, that's like, that growth, that curve has really like started to increase so much for you, and he's definitely like on the way up. And then, a couple months later, you win Windy City. So it certainly was a sign of things to come. For me, I have two. I think Where I Stood will always be really special for me because I think it was a song that I really liked. It was a song that it was more because I liked the song, not because I knew it was going to be good. Competition dance, and it was the first one, so I think there was a certain amount of pride, I think, with that one. And then Oh Me Gusta, the one I won the overall with, I think was a great competition dance, and I was really proud of the way I built that one. And that one's like Latin based, so they're two very separate styles, which I'm also proud of because I tend to like slow and smooth. I love nightclubs, rolling eights, and things like that. Most of my favorites tend to be in that realm, but to kind of step out of that just a little bit more, I was really proud of myself for that one, and I thought it was a really good dance.
Awesome. So, I know we've hit our hour, but I have at least one more question I want to get in, so we're going to continue. Knowing the way the USLDCC worked, and you pretty much knew how your judges are going to be, did y'all alter the way you approached it as the year went on, like the way you choreographed and the way you entered dances, depending on event you're at. And I know it's always the first one that at least in mine, um, the first event of the year is always the surprise because you don't know who's going to be there, like who's going to come out and compete. Like Fitz this past year, we didn't know who was going to enter. We hadn't. Me and
Right.
Chris both looked at each other. We both had an assumption who we thought might enter this year, from leftover from last year, the year you won. But going into that first year competition, you don't know who you're going to compete against. But after you show up to that first year, you kind of have a feeling you're going to know. And by 2 or 3 in, you kind of know who's going to be at all the events. So do you adjust? Did any of y'all play the let's adjust it for here? No?
I went to the only 2 events I could make in
Well,
the
yes,
competition year.
you had a different approach because you kind of were still under contract with doing Disney on Ice.
So it was like, well, when I won a marathon, I was like, crap, I have to compete again. Fitz is coming up too quickly, and I can't afford that. So then I guess Atlanta it is. Like, and then I left like 2 weeks after the week after Atlanta, and I came home in April.
Yeah, you
Something
just
like-
barely missed Boston.
Yeah, I came home right after Boston.
Yep.
And so I was like, well, no, I certainly didn't, but I definitely had the approach of trying to hone what I thought were my strengths. That's definitely the approach that I took. I didn't just take any song because I thought this is a great song. There were some great songs that I found, but I'm like, I don't know if I could do this or if it would, it'd push me out of my comfort zone in terms of, which is great. It's not a bad thing. It's just not something that I was wanting to compete at that point.
I want to see
Of
you write a
my
polka.
career. After like learning Revolution, I was like, maybe I could do something that's similar to a polka.
I love that. That's similar to a polka.
I don't really know what that means. I'm not a trained dancer or a trained line dancer or in any way, shape, or form. So style-wise, all I have is at my fingertips is what people keep choreographing and that I learn. That's kind of the only way I learn.
What about you, Kerry?
I was struggling to find songs that I liked that, the moves just kind of came to me. And yeah, once I found a good song, I really worked just to get one or however many dances I could get done just to make the deadline and the cut and get the step sheet written. So I didn't have enough forethought to think that much ahead, I guess. I just worried about getting the dances done and made sure I was happy with them and they felt good.
How about you, Chris? Mr. Competitor.
I don't think I've ever.
know.
Yeah, right. I don't think I've ever changed which dances I was going to be entering, but I'm always keeping an eye on what instructors are going to be in events, who I assume will probably be judging, and then I personally have a little checklist of certain pieces of feedback that I've gotten from some of the instructors that have been on judging panels. And I know certain things, like anytime I see Roy and Fiona's name on an event, I'm like, I'm going to listen to the song, not even dance it out 80 times before I start writing out that step sheet and make sure I'm hearing all those counts and that I'm hitting everything that I want to. Because every time I talk to them, we always end up back on how we hear the beat and how you want to hit the beat and how you work your choreography into that. So that's my big strategy thing that I do. I'll keep an eye on who I think is going to be sitting at the tables there.
Yeah, I know. I definitely pay attention to the lineup of the event. The marathon's always a hard one because marathon has a pretty stacked lineup, so they have more options. You pretty much know the stable. John Robinson, I think, has literally judged every comp in the 5 years but one, and that's because he was not at Fitz one year. So I believe he's literally judged every comp to date so far. So it's pretty safe to say you're going to have John Robinson on your panel. But I know in this, and I've talked to Chris before, and I know Big Jim, my buddy, and I've talked to Trevor. I always have a couple people I bounce it off, and talk to Kelly all the time. I know personally, I've personally held back dances, knowing going into a competition, I go, I'll wait. I'll wait. Like I know at the Classic, I didn't compete. I actually didn't compete any dances at the Classic, but the one me and Chris wrote, and I had the dance from Vegas. I'm sorry that I'm teaching this week on Streamline. I didn't teach. That's a big bang. Um, and I think I know I've learned that you can by now at least, and this was hard. I know Kerry back when you competed because the numbers was much higher. Lately, the numbers haven't been as high, so come the end of the year, the numbers are going to be a little bit lower. You pretty much know that unless you got a crazy hardcore competitor, some people aren't going to go to that last event because they're saving up the money to go to the marathon. So
right.
you're gonna have a smaller competition base. So yeah, right. So purposely, I know I took honestly, Honky Tonk Highway came about was I turned to Trevor a couple weeks before that, and I knew the chances I was going to have Joey Warren, Madison Glover, and John Robinson as 3 of my 5 judges. I go, I know I can get away with writing a really good country track, and it probably do better than at an event where like at Vegas where I had Simon Ward, Jose, JP as 3 of my 5 judges, JP Maj. So I did think of that. And Honky Tonk Highway is a song I found. I played it for Trevor, and I'm like, look, I go, do you think it's a smart dance? I go, no tags, no restarts. He goes, yeah. He goes, it's probably not a bad idea. And I did approach it that way. And it's sad that we have to sometimes approach it that way. But like Jason said earlier, it's a competition. It's not, and like everyone's like, oh, you need to choreograph when you're choreographing USLDCC for the masses. I go, I don't know about that. I go, I'm choreographing for 5 people, really, like you said, because that's the 5 that matter in this moment. And I know like I took dances, and Scott actually asked me this. He goes, he didn't think no one would take dances to multiple events, and I'm like, no, because I might not be competing against. I go, I might like Chris took 3rd with Shoot My Shot at Atlanta, but it won Windy City. Different competitors, different judging panel. If I turn around like, I'm sorry, I got killed with it in Vegas, my nightclub. I turned around and took it to Big Bang and took 2nd. And then I took it again to Fort Wayne against 20-something people, the same event Kerry was at, and I took 2nd. So it all depends on the judging panel. I go, I might not have it. I go, it might not do good against these competitors, but it might get me a spot in the finals, which I guess that's the way at least I approach it. And I still approach it going into the finals. Had a question from Willie White Sox, Mr. Willie Brown, and Jason, Willie says if you ever have songs you don't want to use, feel free to send them his way. He'll gladly take them.
Keep that in mind, Willie. We'll keep that in mind.
He wants to know if any of you have any plans to attend a UK event anytime soon. Can we even get... Willie, we can't even get to the UK right now.
Not soon, but Stoke is the number one. Stoke is the number 1 event on my list.
Oh, there you go.
To go to. It was Windy City. I finally made it to Windy City last year. Stoke is the number 1 event that I would like to go to. That's 100%, like second to none. Stoke, but who knows? And plus, that waiting list is like 15 years long because it's the same like 150 people that get to go every year. So I know Strictly is a tough list to get onto.
It is.
So we'll see.
What about you, Chris or Kerry? Kerry, you just went to Ireland last year, or the year before, didn't you?
That was 2018. 18?
Or you went to the first Gary O'Reilly one, right?
1 second.
Oh.
Yeah, I went there the first year.
Willie says he needs in the next 12 months to 2 years, so you got to pick something other than Stoke.
I would love to go to one of the events over in the UK. Stoke would be awesome. World Dance Masters would be awesome. Vegas is still on my bucket list. Yeah, I would love to go to Vegas.
I'll come over to more events when they get aircon.
Oh no, we stayed pretty cool in Manchester the night before Masters, Chris. I mean, Jason.
Oh, teaching
bouncing
with
around
that
the city.
Sunroof, though.
that I have to say that was probably what made this trip fun compared to the this past year when me and Kelly went over for 2 weeks. We met up with Jason and Shay the 2 days before Masters in Manchester. We did the Friends Fest, but we went jumping around Manchester for a day and a half, 2 days before going over, and it was cool getting to do it. Around. No, we did not. Yeah, Shay, it was cooler. It rained.
At night, yeah, at the very end of the night. During the daytime, it was. So, Kerry, have you been to the UK other than you've only been to Ireland? Yeah, right. Not Northern Ireland.
Right. Just
Okay.
Ireland, yeah, not Northern Ireland.
Oh, Northern Ireland's getting their event next year as well.
Yes,
Fred and Georgina's.
Georgina.
Okay, that's on the list. Add that to the list. Okay.
Oh yeah, and Guillaume, Shay just reminded me, Guillaume did join us the night before when he eventually got off his train. The random plane that came in late.
And then I missed New Line twice by a week. Not that that's also always sold out because it only holds like 100 people. But I was always in Glasgow, and then I always finish my show. Both times I've been in Glasgow, I finish my shows on the weekend of New Line, and then I go to Newcastle the next week. And at that point, Big Dave takes the week off of his class because he just finished the event and everything. And I'm always like,
and he needs sleep. Chris, where do you want to go?
Everywhere. It's weird for me because so I didn't start coming to any events until 2017. Only went to Showdown because I can drive for 15 minutes and be in my bed. And then
that was my first event too. 2017.
And so now this year was like the big, I need to start going to more events. Made it to Windy City, obviously. Made it to Fitz. Had so much fun. Went back for Florida Line. And now it's like, okay, I need to go to Fort Wayne. I need to go to Vegas. I need to go to World Dance Masters. I need to go to Stoke. I need to go everywhere. And on top of that, you see certain events that it's, since he asked the question, Willie Brown's going to be there. Great. How do I get in? Where is this happening? Where do I go? Put me anywhere that I haven't been to yet, where I know there's good people and good dancing. And that's what it's about.
I know for a fact Willie Brown next year will be at Myrtle Beach, and he just posted. I knew he was coming to Myrtle Beach because he was supposed to be there at spring break for Steve Lascarbo's this year, and he just posted. Where'd it go?
I think he'll be at Motor City again this year, right?
I think he might. I don't remember if he's on that poster or not. Sure, Willie will chime in here in a minute. And I know selfishly, me and Chris, if we have it our way, we'll be both heading to England together next year after winning in December. Fingers crossed. It's nice because I have one in newcomer novice. We have the one together, and I have a couple in intermediate advanced, and then he has the one in praise. So if we have it our way, we're just going to sweep it off. Fort Wayne's the other one. Willie says no to Motor City Dance Classic.
Okay.
So me and Chris have it our way. We just take it all out and go to the finals ourselves. Go to England together.
That's another one I missed. I arrived the Sunday night that Fort Wayne had ended like 8 hours earlier.
You have
that one.
I know, and we're actually because you were what 2.5 hours away this year. You were up in Michigan.
I was in Grand Rapids. Yeah,
you were up in Grand Rapids, but they were getting snow, and we were starting to get snow. So we're like, Jason, just drive on down. And it was just the weather. It was like, yeah, exactly.
Californian, not driving in that.
I remember because me and JP got there, and all of a sudden our phone we posted that we were there and having dinner, and Jason goes, "I'm so close to you guys right now," and we're like, "Get in the car!" And the weather, and all of a sudden we woke up the next morning, and the whole city is covered in white. And everyone, me and JP, I went live on Facebook to go down to get JP. We went to go to the truck to unload it, and everyone was like, "What are you two Southern boys doing outside in the snow?" And like, in my defense, I did live up near Boston in New Hampshire for 5 years. I know how to handle the cold, so I'm okay. So, well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. It has been a blast chatting about this topic and the whole competition base, and hopefully we'll all be at an event together soon. Kerry and Jason, I know y'all are done competing, so you don't have the stress of being on deadlines.
I don't miss that.
Chris, we have a couple months at least before our deadline, so we're good. But yeah, our dance is already done. The one we wrote together is done, but our solo ones aren't. So it's that because I'm changing. I did have them ready for marathon, And I've gone back and looked at them. I'm like, maybe not. Let's change some things here. So
Yeah.
I know
It's
I've
great though.
definitely done that.
I'm dreading.
Do what?
I'm absolutely dreading writing mine for phrased. As much as I love writing a phrased, we got.
It's the easiest. It's the easiest. There's no restrictions. You just write it. It's great. Intermediate advance is like, is there a tag and a restart? Is there 2 tags? How am I gonna avoid the 2 tags? No, phrase is the best.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's the best because there's like no limitations.
Yeah, that's what I had a couple times hard finding the music for my intermediate advanced ones because literally I found one, Jason, and you will appreciate this. It had an 18 count tag. I'm like, really? 2 counts over the limit? Come on!
Yeah,
it's like,
see, that's.
Be thankful.
I tell you,
Kerry,
sometimes you gotta get creative.
Kerry can remember the first year there was a restart limit that would make it phrased. Year 1.
I think UCWDC has that as well.
Oh, do they?
One of the other competitions has it.
The old rules was it couldn't have more than 2 tags or restarts.
Oh, okay.
So can you imagine writing dances with 3 or 4 restarts and them automatically going to the phrase division?
Again, that's just being smart about your competition because that's just not the type of dance that you should enter for this. And it's just not what you should do. I would not advise that. But I will say, like, just as like a final thing, like I encourage people to go and do this. I love the fact that, you know, we had this conversation 2 weeks ago about like how many dances come out and whatever, but it's really on the positive side of like the low barrier of entry. It kind of allows any of us old random people from class that go to events to have the opportunity to write a dance, to compete it. You don't have to do really anything but attend and pay your entry fee. And it's a great way to grow and to appreciate, you know, line dancing and more of what the instructors and choreographers that we love, like what they do. So, I mean, as a closing note, I just want to encourage people to try it out. I mean, if you're already going to the event, it doesn't really require that much more to, you know, enter and see what you have.
Yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it. I was either doing the floor or the floor and video at every one of the comps. I'm already there. So it's like,
right.
So, and for those who are interested in competing, the next USLDC event will not be starting up again until July of next year. It'll be at Fun in the Sun in 2021. Jen Cameron, in her interview back in, I think, episode 4 or 5, or 6, I think it was 6, said that there will be no more competitions. They're taking the year off. The winner from this year will go 2021, since they won't get to go in 2020. And the new season will start up July of 2021 and run just like normal. It'll be Fun in the Sun. And then Vegas, Florida Classic, Big Bang, and Boston Line Dance Showdown will be the 5 qualifiers. And then the finals will be at the Marathon in 2021 for the winner to go. 2022 for the winner to go then.
So you have a whole year to prepare.
You do.
No excuses, anybody. No excuses, anybody.
You literally have a full year before the next USLDCC comp that's not the finals. On a closing note, I know a couple of them have been watching. I would like to personally wish a good luck to Chris as well as the rest of the competitors. I know Taylor's watching. Russ, Dea, Cody, Liz Atkinson, Judy Rogers. Trying to think who. Jason Turner, Wendy Smith, Nicole Calger. I'm trying to think of who other was the qualifiers. We've all qualified for the finals in December, so we'll all get to compete. Uh-oh, we lost Jason. Oh, there he is.
I'm back. I was like...
So I will definitely want to wish everyone luck in the finals. Most of you, I won't probably see you till then, unless you're going to be hopefully Vegas. Hopefully Windy City in Vegas happens, fingers crossed. And actually, I'm still hoping for the experience. I'm hoping for the experience at the beginning of September. So fingers crossed. I think the experience is the next line dance event. To that, but I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Thank you everybody out there at home that watched it. I hope you enjoyed a little insight into the USLDCC and what we've gone through and are still going through. tomorrow I have John Lindsay on the show. He is a former UCWDC competitor, former event DJ, and he is the current GM and DJ at the Roundup here in Davie, Florida. Shay just informed me Diane did say it's on as of now. I was hoping, I saw her post about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago asking how many people were going to come, and my fingers crossed. I'd come. Let's go now. So, and then Wednesday, you saw him on Friday in my roundtable with Trevor and JP. I have Tim Perez, the UCWDC judge and Masters competitor and event director from Las Vegas. He will be on my show. And Thursday, as of right now, is Jonas Dahlgren will be my guest Thursday night. It's the night before his event online this weekend of You and Me Line Dance Festival online that I have been honored to ask to teach at. So I will be teaching at his festival this weekend online, of course. Can't go to Sweden. I wish we could right now. So thank you all, and I will announce Friday's show later in the week. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining me. See you tomorrow, guys. Same bat time, same bat channel. Later.